You know them from the big screen, but guess what? Some of your favorite actors have traded the red carpet for prison jumpsuits. From blockbuster stars to TV icons, these celebs went from reading scripts to reading legal documents real fast. What happened? Bad decisions, wild scandals, and crimes that even their best performances couldn't get them out of. Buckle up, because today we're diving into the shocking list of actors who are currently in jail, and trust me, some of these names will leave you speechless. Take a moment to relax, grab your favorite cup of tea or coffee, and enjoy this video with us. You may not remember Skylar DeLeon from Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, and for good reason. Her acting career was virtually non-existent, limited to minor roles and a few commercials. But what she lacked in Hollywood success, she more than made up for in criminal notoriety. In 2004, an elderly couple decided to sell their beloved 50-foot yacht to buy a house closer to their grandchildren. Along came Skylar, who responded to their ad and showed up with his pregnant wife and child, a picture of wholesome family life that put the sellers at ease. They agreed to a test drive on November 15, 2004. But what started as a routine sale turned into a nightmare. Skylar and his accomplices forced the couple to sign over ownership of the yacht and hand over their bank account information before tying them to the boat's anchor and throwing them overboard. They were never seen again. When questioned, Skylar tried to remain calm, claiming that she had purchased the yacht legally. But when one of her accomplices fled to Mexico and later returned to confess, the case fell apart. Skylar's wife was convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to life without parole. The evidence against Skylar was so overwhelming that even her defense team did not put up much of a fight, instead bizarrely arguing that the crimes were motivated by the need to fund sex reassignment surgery. The jury didn't buy it. Skylar was convicted a third time and sentenced to death, along with another accomplice. Meanwhile, the whistleblower was sentenced to 20 years in prison. As of 2019, Skylar DeLeon has legally transitioned to female and is currently on death row at San Quentin State Prison. And if you think that's crazy, wait until you hear about the actress who went to prison for sending poison-laced letters to President Barack Obama and Mayor Michael Bloomberg. Buckle up, the next one is even crazier. Shannon Richardson wasn't exactly a Hollywood star. Her career was built on bit parts, including a forgettable appearance in The Walking Dead. But in 2013, she made headlines for something far more shocking than any zombie drama. Amid a nasty divorce, Shannon decided to frame her husband for an unspeakable crime, sending ricin-laced letters to high-profile figures, including then-President Barack Obama and New York Mayor Michael Bloomberg. At first, her plan worked. Authorities arrested her husband, grilling him over the toxic letters. But when the evidence didn't hold up and investigators started digging into Shannon's past, her story fell apart. Eventually, she switched tactics, claiming he had forced her to send the letters. That didn't fly either. By the end of 2013, she struck a plea deal, and in 2014, she was hit with an 18-year prison sentence and nearly $400,000 in fines. Though she's expected to be released in November 2028, Shannon has since insisted, "I never intended to hurt anyone. I'm not a bad person." But with a failed scheme, a ruined career, and years left in prison, that's a tough sell. On a fateful night in June 2010, an intoxicated Locane got behind the wheel and quickly found herself in two separate collisions. The first was a minor scrape, but the second was catastrophic. Driving at nearly twice the speed limit, she plowed into the passenger side of another car, instantly killing the passenger and leaving the driver clinging to life. When police arrived, Locane was so intoxicated that paramedics reported she was giggling at the scene, despite the devastation she had caused. A blood test later confirmed her alcohol level was nearly 3 times the legal limit. In December 2010, she was charged with aggravated manslaughter and assault by auto. By 2013, she received a shockingly light 3-year sentence and was back on the streets by 2015. But the legal system wasn't done with her yet. In 2016, an appeals court ruled that her sentence was far too lenient. By 2019, she was slapped with a 5-year sentence. Then, in September 2020, the case finally reached its conclusion. Locane was resentenced to 8 years behind bars, where she remains today. Danny Masterson, once a beloved star of that 70s show, has seen his career and reputation crumble following serious legal troubles. The situation began in March 2017 when multiple individuals came forward with allegations of misconduct. As the controversy gained traction, Masterson faced mounting professional consequences. Netflix removed him from the ranch, and his talent agency severed ties. By August 2019, the case took another turn when 4 women filed a lawsuit alleging they had been subjected to intimidation and harassment after speaking out. They claimed they faced pressure to stay silent, with attempts made to dissuade them from seeking legal action. The accusations sparked widespread discussions, putting Masterson and his affiliations under intense scrutiny. Following an extensive legal battle, Masterson stood trial on multiple charges. His first trial ended in a mistrial, but a retrial resulted in convictions on 2 counts. The court ultimately handed down a 30-year sentence, marking a dramatic downfall for a once prominent television figure. For nearly 2 decades, Michael Jace had built a steady career in Hollywood, best known for his role as Officer Julian Lowe on The Shield. But in 2014, his real-life crimes overshadowed everything he had ever done on screen. On the night of May 19, 2014, police responded to a chilling 911 call from Jace himself. When they arrived at his Los Angeles home, they found his wife dead. What was the cause? Investigators quickly pieced together a motive. Jace, consumed by jealousy and anger, shot her as she prepared to leave him after years of physical and emotional abuse. During the trial, disturbing details emerged about Jace's long history of domestic violence. Witnesses testified about his violent behavior, and the evidence against him was overwhelming. In May 2016, he was convicted of second-degree murder and sentenced to 40 years to life in prison. Unlike another Shield co-star who is serving 3 life sentences, which we'll get to later, Jace is currently incarcerated at Corcoran State Prison, where Hollywood fame means nothing. From American Ninja Warrior champion to convicted criminal, Drew Drexel's downfall is as shocking as it gets. Once celebrated by millions for his unmatched dominance on the obstacle course, Drexel used his fame to groom a young fan at his gym. The relationship, which began when she was underage, was kept secret for years. When she turned 19, she finally decided to come forward, sparking an FBI investigation. The case took a disturbing turn when it was revealed that she had previously threatened to harm herself if her mother intervened in her relationship with Drexel. According to her, she met the Ninja Warrior star at a young age, and he manipulated her into inappropriate acts ever since. In June of this year, Drexel struck a plea deal, admitting guilt to 2 charges related to traveling for illicit purposes. As part of the agreement, he will be required to register as a sex offender upon release and surrender multiple electronic devices linked to the crimes. With sentencing set for late October, the once revered athlete now faces up to 60 years to life, a far cry from the glory days of his American Ninja Warrior reign. If you liked this video, Leave a 1 in the comments. Otherwise, let me know with a 0. I really appreciate your feedback. Once one of the most powerful figures in Hollywood, Harvey Weinstein's downfall was swift, brutal, and long overdue. In late 2017, the New York Times and The New Yorker blew the lid off years of whispers, exposing Weinstein's dark history of sexual misconduct. Dozens of actresses came forward, revealing how he had used his power to assault women and derail the careers of those who refused to submit. What followed was a tidal wave of allegations. Over 100 women spoke out, igniting the Me Too movement that reshaped Hollywood and toppled other high-profile predators. Stripped of his empire and publicly disgraced, Weinstein was arrested and charged with multiple counts of sexual assault in New York, London, and Los Angeles. His New York trial ended in a 23-year sentence, and his Los Angeles conviction added 16 more years. Now in declining health, the former Miramax mogul is unlikely to ever see the outside world again, his final act playing out behind bars. Back in 1999, an ordinary college guy named Jared Fogle became an overnight sensation. The internet was buzzing about his shocking weight loss, over 100 pounds achieved by exercising and sticking to a diet of Subway sandwiches. His story was so unbelievable that Subway couldn't ignore it. They made a smart move, turning Jared into the face of a massive, long-running ad campaign. He starred in hundreds of commercials, became a pop culture figure, and even made appearances in WWA and Hollywood films. But behind the fame, trouble was brewing. In April 2015, everything started unraveling when the director of the Jared Foundation was arrested on multiple serious charges. As investigators dug deeper, they uncovered disturbing evidence linking Jared to illicit exchanges involving minors. The revelation led authorities straight to his door. By July 2015, law enforcement raided his home, seized electronics, and took him into custody. Subway wasted no time. By the end of the day, they had severed all ties, scrubbing his image from their brand. Then, in a shocking turn, court documents revealed that Jared had not only engaged in illegal activities, but had also attempted to involve others in his crimes. By August 2015, facing overwhelming evidence, Jared took a plea deal. He was sentenced to 15 years and 8 months behind bars, with a minimum of 13 years to serve, and ordered to pay nearly $2 million in fines. From a celebrated weight loss icon to a disgraced inmate, his downfall was absolute. In recent letters from prison, Jared admitted to being a broken man, claiming he was staying fit and eating healthy while lamenting the loss of basic comforts like walking barefoot on a carpet or eating with real silverware. From a wholesome reality TV star to a convicted sex offender, Josh Duggar's fall from grace has been as shocking as it is tragic. Best known from 19 Kids and Counting, Duggar's dark history dates back to 2002-2003, when he was repeatedly disciplined by his parents for disturbing behavior. But what made the case even more heartbreaking was that his own sisters were both his victims and his protectors. In December 2006, his family was set to appear on The Oprah Winfrey Show, but the episode was abruptly canceled when an anonymous tipster informed producers about his past misconduct. Despite law enforcement's involvement, the statute of limitations had expired, ensuring Duggar faced no charges at the time. But that wasn't the end of his scandals. In 2015, Duggar's name surfaced in the infamous Ashley Madison data breach, exposing his secret double life. Then, in April 2021, he was arrested for possessing highly inappropriate content involving minors. By December 2021, he was convicted, and the following year, he was sentenced to 12 years and 7 months in prison, along with a $50,000 fine and 20 years of supervised probation, barring him from using the internet or being near children without supervision. Instead of taking full responsibility, Duggar attempted to appeal the ruling, blaming his crimes on a former co-worker already convicted of similar offenses. But for now, the once beloved TV star remains behind bars, far from the wholesome image he once projected. Jacket Firearms LLC was once a booming business, so captivating that Discovery Channel built an entire reality show around its Sons of Guns. At the center of it all was Will Hayden, a charismatic yet controversial figure in the gun world. But in August 2014, his empire came crashing down when he was accused of assaulting a young person. Hayden fiercely denied the allegations, but his protests weren't enough to save his career. Discovery Channel quickly pulled the plug on Sons of Guns, cutting ties with him for good.
Because I know that for one, my sister needs me. She needs someone that can speak for her, that can be on her side. That's the main reason. And also because I have a...
Then came the shocking bombshell: his own daughter stepped forward with disturbing claims that he had violently assaulted her when she was a child. The case went to trial, and the verdict was damning. Hayden was convicted and sentenced to 2 life terms, plus 40 years, ensuring he would never see the outside world again. No probation, no parole, no second chances. But the hammer didn't stop there. In July 2017, Hayden was hit with another life sentence for sexual assault. With all 3 sentences running concurrently, the former reality TV star turned convict will spend the rest of his days behind bars, a far cry from his days in the spotlight. Joe's son has had a career that spans the gamut: boxer, wrestler, actor, and full-time troublemaker. What is he famous for? Playing Odd Job in Austin Powers, international man of mystery. But while his on-screen presence isn't memorable, his criminal record isn't. In May 2008, Son pleaded guilty to criminal damage and was sentenced to 60 days in jail plus probation. But he couldn't even follow those rules. Violating his probation landed him in jail for another 90 days. That should have been a wake-up call, but what happened next was much worse. As part of his probation, Son had to submit his DNA, and when he did, it linked him to an attack on Christmas Eve in 1990. Prosecutors wanted him to spend 275 years to life in prison, but thanks to a loophole in the statute of limitations, he could only be charged with murder, and in 2011, he was convicted of torture and sentenced to 7 years to life. But just a month later, he was back in the headlines again, this time for beating a fellow inmate to death. The case went to trial, and in 2017, Son was convicted of involuntary manslaughter and sentenced to an additional 27 years. His story, from B-movie bad guy to real-life monster, is the likes of which Hollywood has never seen. We really appreciate you sticking around and watching our videos. Leave a 2 in the comments to let us know you're still here with us. Joe Exotic, that's right. Tiger King was the flamboyant ruler of the Greater Wynnewood Exotic Animal Park, running it from 1999 to 2008. But calling him a zookeeper is an understatement. He's also been a former police chief, talk show host, singer, wrestling commentator, and, why not, an independent presidential candidate. Controversial, sure. Famous, even more so. But behind that wild persona is a man who's been accused of animal cruelty, feeding expired meat to tigers, shooting horses donated to his zoo, and allegedly using them as tiger food. It wasn't animal cruelty that ultimately landed him in prison, though it was his obsessive feud with Carolee Baskin. Their battle began in 2009, when Baskin campaigned against tiger petting events, a major source of income for Joe. When she and her followers pressured shopping malls to cut ties with him, Joe flew into a rage. He posted criticism online, stole and published excerpts from her private diary, and repeatedly accused her of murdering her husband and feeding tigers. But Joe went too far, illegally copying the name and trademark of her nonprofit for shady business purposes, a move that cost him $1 million in a lawsuit. That's when he became the real villain. Determined to silence Baskin once and for all, Joe attempted to hire a hitman only to accidentally give $10,000 to an undercover FBI agent. In April 2019, a jury convicted him of 2 counts of murder for hire, along with a long list of wildlife-related crimes, including illegally killing tigers, illegal trafficking, and falsifying records. In January 2020, he was sentenced to 22 years in prison, though 1 year was reduced to 2022. Now battling cancer and under a DNR do not resuscitate order, Joe Exotic's once larger-than-life existence is in jeopardy.
Damn. Fuck y'all talking about, man?
Man, D talking about so he could whoop Mike Tyson.
Kyle Lan Walker, once a rising star with roles in Superfly and Kings, is now serving 50 years to life behind bars, a sentence that cements his name not as an actor, but as a convicted predator. Prosecutors described his crimes as calculated and truly predatory, and the details behind his conviction paint a disturbing picture. Walker used social media as his hunting ground, luring aspiring models and actresses with promises of photo shoots and music video opportunities. But when his victims arrived, they were met with something far more sinister. These carefully orchestrated traps led to a string of assaults, and in April 2022, Walker was found guilty of multiple charges. By October 2022, the judge handed down a devastating sentence, ensuring that he will spend most, if not all of his life in prison. As part of his punishment, Walker must register as a sex offender for life, but he refuses to accept responsibility. To this day, he insists he did nothing wrong and claims he was denied a fair trial. But with dozens of victims and overwhelming evidence, his fall from grace is as undeniable as it is permanent.
Told the police he did it. To protect me, but it wasn't him. Okay, it was me.
Ryan Grantham, once recognized for his roles in Diary of a Wimpy Kid and Riverdale, is now serving a life sentence not for a scripted crime, but a real-life tragedy that shocked many. In March 2020, authorities say Grantham carried out a fatal act against his own mother while she was at home. The shocking nature of the case quickly gained widespread attention, but it was what came next that made it even more disturbing. Following the incident, investigators uncovered details suggesting that Grantham had deeper, more alarming intentions. Reports revealed that he had considered additional violent actions, with documented evidence showing he had rehearsed certain aspects in advance. Authorities also noted that he had been struggling with personal and psychological challenges in the months leading up to the event, with substance use reportedly playing a role in his deteriorating mental state. But what happened next took an unexpected turn. Instead of following through with any further plans, Grantham ultimately decided to turn himself in. He was later convicted and sentenced to life in prison, with a requirement to serve at least 14 years before becoming eligible for parole. The case remains one of the most unsettling examples of a young actor's life taking a dark and tragic turn. Once a rising star in Doctor Strange, Zara Fithian now finds herself behind bars, not in Hollywood, but in the UK serving time for heinous crimes alongside her husband. In a shocking case that rocked the industry, the couple was convicted of sexual abuse, with Zara receiving 8 years in prison, while her 60-year-old husband was hit with a 14-year sentence. He was also found guilty of assaulting another minor alone. During the trial, the judge painted a disturbing picture of manipulation and control, stating that Zara was deeply influenced by her husband, so much so that she was willing to follow his commands, no matter how immoral or illegal. However, the court placed the bulk of the blame on her husband, calling him the mastermind behind the abuse. One of the victim's impact statements was particularly devastating. She described how the couple stole her innocence, leaving her unable to trust or form meaningful relationships. Now, both Fithian and her husband must serve at least half of their sentences before they can even seek parole, but their reputations are forever beyond repair. Once the picture-perfect couple of Chrisley knows best, Todd and Julie Chrisley are now living a very different kind of reality behind bars, with years still left on their sentences. Their crime? Scamming banks out of over $30 million and committing a laundry list of tax and fraud offenses. Julie was also convicted of wire fraud and obstruction of justice. Before they became reality TV stars, the Chrisleys faked financial documents, securing massive loans to fund their over-the-top lifestyle, think designer clothes, luxury real estate, exotic vacations, and high-end cars. But once fame and money rolled in from Chrisley Knows Best and its spin-offs, they made one critical mistake: they forgot to pay taxes on their millions. When the law finally caught up with them, Todd was sentenced to 12 years, while Julie got 7. And despite the overwhelming evidence, neither has admitted any wrongdoing, blaming it all on a bad accountant while failing multiple appeals. Meanwhile, their kids have painted a grim picture of their parents' time in prison: no air conditioning, exposure to poisonous snakes, black mold, asbestos, and lead-based paint. They've called the whole ordeal a nightmare, while Todd, according to his lawyer, is struggling with anxiety, frustration over the legal system, and the total lack of privacy, especially with inmates reportedly sneaking pictures of him while he sleeps. But with years still left on the clock, it looks like the Chrisleys' best days are far behind them. I'd love to know what you want to learn next. Share your thoughts in the comments, and I'll answer them in the next video. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like to show your support. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss new content, and leave a comment below to share your thoughts. See you in the next video.